Hey everyone, I'm Diego.
I'm AK.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Drew.
And today we're going to be presenting on gender and race in the Starling Stories advertisements. So what are the Starling Stories? The Starling Stories, which is the text from the archives that we chose to base a presentation on, is an American pulp science fiction magazine spanning from the years from 1939 through 1955. And they were published by Ned Pine's Standard Magazine. You can see up on the board like a regular cover of one of these magazines. That's what it would look like. So as we look through these sci-fi magazines, the advertisements in them really caught our attention. And as we flipped through these advertisements, we realized that they had recurring themes. And the main themes we found recurring in these advertisements were based on race and gender. So this led us into questioning how these advertisements illustrate the state of gender and racial roles on the post-repression in World War II America. Then, after a lot of thought and observation, we came up with a thesis. From the advertisements in the Starling Stories, we infer that the world the advertiser were attempting to create is one where only Caucasian men can succeed, thus relegating women and people of color to menial or supporting roles. Now, all of this was occurring during a very difficult time.
So the time period that we based our investigations in was one of the most grimmest eras. Two of the major world events, the Great Depression and the World War II, drastically changed America's society. At the start of the Great Depression, about 50 million Americans were unemployed. Now, coming in from the roaring 20s, American economy was booming and entertainment and consumption was in its all-time high. When the Great Depression hit, all of that crumbled. Families were broken and the workforce was shattered. And it only recovered when World War II hit due to the industrial surge. And you can see in the graph, at the start of the 1940s, unemployment was about at 15%, and it reduces down to a mere 2% by the end of 1945, which is the midst of the war. And we can also see consequently that the wages increased from 1940s to 1945, showing that the quality of life improved and consumption was again increasing.
So I'm going to set the stage for these advertisements to talk about the gender roles that were going on at the time, or the supposed gender roles. So right here we have two different, these are real advertisements, by the way. So this one's an advertisement for Campbell's Vegetable Soup, and this one's for Hardee's. I'm just going to read this one real quick. This one says, "Did you marry a kitchen snooper?" Insinuating that the man's always coming into the woman cooking dinner, seeing what's going on. And I mean, that's funny as it is, but this one, it says, "Women don't leave the," I'm going to reiterate this again. This is a real ad from 1939. It says, "Women don't leave the kitchen. We all know a woman's place is in the home, cooking a man's delicious meal. But if you are still enjoying the bachelor's life and don't have a little miss waiting on you, then come down to Hardee's for something sloppy and hastily prepared." So, as you can see, these stereotypical roles during the time, though not necessarily true, which we'll elaborate on later, this was a real thing, that the woman was supposed to stay in the kitchen while the man was hard at work, and she was supposed to take care of the home and the family. And this kind of mindset is reflected in the Starling Stories, which we did do our research on. So I'm going to talk about three specific types of advertisements, not really specific, but specific examples. So this is one. It says, "Go ahead, make money, be a diesel engineer." This is one of the main types of advertisements that we found in our Starling Stories, were that these technician jobs, these very mechanically based, high, low skill, promise of high skill, high paying jobs. Because as AK was saying, this was during the Great Depression, and one of the main things that people really wanted during this time were really high, good paying jobs, really reputable jobs, and something to almost get them out of the slump that they were in as a country. So here we see a picture of a man, and then if you read the fine print here, it also refers to thousands of top men are needed and to become these airplane engineers, these diesel engineers. Here's another example of becoming airplane technicians. And this is something that's really important, because AK is going to elaborate on this later, is that here it says 500,000 more men needed to do these airplane techs. We read what the authorities say about why the aircraft industry must have men. But which was funny is that during this time, 1940s, during World War II, women were one of the primary workforce in making these airplanes. So the argument we're making is that the advertisers themselves were trying to create this world where white Caucasian men were at the pinnacle of society. Here's one more example. Same type of deal, electrician, technician working on generators. It's only white men, and this is throughout every single comic book we've read. And a lot of the ads do repeat through the volumes, but it's just the same kind of deal. And one final one is this is almost reiterates the fact that during this time, this is what were important to people during this Great Depression, where jobs were low, consumption was low, salaries were low. People wanted a good salary, fine car, a nice home, and a bank account. And if a man could have that, that would mean he's successful. And here we see a man, muscular strength, and it just really shows the target audience of what these Startling stories were all about, and that they really just targeted the white man.
So, as Mike was saying, most of these ads were geared toward white male, but some of these ads did contain women. And these ads that contain women usually were ads about beauty or art. So on the left, you can see a music ad that is a woman playing a piano, there's a woman playing a violin, and there's a man playing an accordion. While this ad is for both men and women, the women are almost diminished when it says in the ad that I didn't think that I could learn it without a teacher, and that's the woman saying it. So it's like kind of saying that she didn't think that she was smart enough to be able to learn it by herself, and the male doesn't say that in the ad. Also, the ad kind of hints at like if a woman learns these skills, they'll be more like marketable, or like men will want to be with them more if they have these skills. And then on the right, it's the same type of thing. It's a woman wearing pearls, and they're trying to sell the pearl necklace, saying, oh, you'll look more beautiful if you have these pearls. But it's just marketing them. They try to influence their looks so that they can look better for males. And then the ads that featured women, they were still like targeting male audiences. On the left, there's a picture of a razor blade ad. And it's got this attractive woman trying to sell men razor blades. Like, you wouldn't think that would be the thing, but it's saying like, don't look at his money, don't look at like his yachts or what he has. If he shaves with this razor, more women will like him and will want to be with him. So it's trying to use the women to like kind of sell the product to the guys. And on the right, there's an ad for a magazine using women's beauty to kind of market the magazine so that more men will buy it and like browse through the women in the magazine. So it's almost like selling the women to the men. And then going off the objectified thing, still in the left ad, it's an artist ad, and it's not specifically for men or women either. But you see in the picture that it's this beautiful girl saying like, if you learn how to be an artist, you can draw these pictures, or like you can make beautiful girls. And like, I don't know how many girls would want to paint beautiful girls. So I mean, I feel like it would be more geared toward men in that aspect. And then on the right, it says special work for married women. So we finally found an ad that was geared toward women. Like, we reached the promised land. But it's specialized. It says for married women. And like, you think that it'd be geared towards single women because they don't have the husbands to support them and have some money to gain from their husbands. And the single ladies have to support themselves and get their own jobs. Also, during that time, there were racial roles. So minorities, specifically African Americans, were very discriminated against. Asians were put in concentration camps because of World War II, and there's a lot of segregation with the white and black bathrooms, the bus seats. Jackie Robinson was the first African American baseball player, and every time he stepped up to the plate, people would boo him, even though he's playing the same game that everyone else was. African Americans were also used in the World War II effort, but they were given like the grunge jobs. They were like the cooks, or they would clean up, and they would do the jobs that no one really wanted to do. And during this time period, they had the Jim Crow laws. So like if African American went to vote, they would have to take a literacy test, and since they couldn't pass that, they couldn't vote. but most Caucasian males couldn't pass that test either, so it was kind of unfair. There's also things like the KKK that was discriminating against other people, and the Caucasians were viewed as the highest race, but minorities were still contributing to society, but the ads were just focused on the white males who were viewed as the highest race. So as you can see here, all these ads are picturing white Caucasian males, and even though all the minorities were also making contributions to society, they weren't pictured here. So the main point was that there was a lack of representation of people of color. There was only white Caucasian males or white males that were pictured, and why wouldn't advertisers picture minorities? If they're wanting to market to the highest people, they're only gonna market for the dominant race. Like back then, when the kings would buy something, everyone under them would also buy that product because they think, oh, the highest of the high has that product, we should get it too. So if the advertisers are considering white males the dominant race, they're going to market that.
So once again, these magazines were set in a period that greatly transformed the American population. From the 1930s to the end of 1950s, women gained a more vital role in actually helping America survive the Great Depression and World War II. And we see a lot of minorities contributing to American politics, entertainment, and sports. Specifically during the Great Depression, the employment workforce increased by 2 million with just the female employees. And this was due to the stigma that existed prior to the Great Depression, which stated that men were the breadwinners of the family. So when a man lost his job, he often deserted the family because just out of pure shame or fear that he couldn't provide, and leaving the women to actually pick up the slack and lead the family to survival.
Only have 12 minutes.
Yeah, we have a timer. It said 12 minutes. Sure.
Yeah, it's been more than 12 minutes. We started at 2:05 and it's 2:36.
Yeah, but the first group started
It's 2
Sorry,
It's cool.
guys. I'm so
So
sorry.
as I was saying, specifically focusing on African American women, 9 out of 10 African American women were in fact employees, which were some of the highest rates of specific subgroups employment rates during the Great Depression. And the importance of female role in America only increased as World War II rolled in. The workforce increased from 25% to 35% during the 1940s. And this was due to how men held a lot of the manufacturing and heavy industry jobs prior to World War II. So when they left for the war, women replaced them. In fact, the aviation workforce was dominated by females. 65% of the workers in the aviation industry consisted of females. And still, like before, a lot of the ads that we saw that targeted the aviation industry, it still called for men, it still asked for Caucasian males to come work when there actually was a field dominated by women. And women moved on from doing clerical work from the 20s and the 30s to actually doing highly advanced technological and manufacturing jobs. And we can also see an emergence of a new culture during the 40s. Minorities started contributing to sports, literature, and arts. So for example, Billie Holiday is a really famous African-American singer, and some of you may recognize her from Kanye West's song Blood on the Leaves, which samples her Strange Fruit song, which is one of the earliest songs that talks about racism. Langston Hughes also provided a variety of publications to American literature. Jesse Owens went on to Berlin to win a gold medal in track and field, and Althea Gibson was a very accomplished athlete both in golf and tennis. So even as we see the society change from being totally dominated by Caucasian males to these introductions of new minorities and women in the workforce actually contributing a major part of society's products, the ads themselves do not represent the truth. For example, this advertisement for the music lesson, it targets only the Caucasian population, when we see that minority artists are breaking ground. And even the Army ad, which recruits people only focused on white Caucasian males, when in fact, minority groups such as women and African American males and Japanese Americans played a big part in the Army. For example, a lot of women enlisted in the Army to become field nurses, and without them, the war would never be the same and we wouldn't have been victorious. And very famous units such as the Tuskegee Airmen and the 442nd Battalion, which consisted entirely of Japanese Americans, were some of the highly decorated and most successful combat units in military history.
So this idea of advertisements representing the kind of thoughts of people on race and gender rather than reality is still very prevalent today. Advertisers, even though large or some progress has been made from the 1930s and 40s when the Starling stories were published till now, kind of considering racial and gender equality has been made, we're still not there. Advertisements, for example, this one right here, it's literally Kate Upton in a Hardee's commercial, and clearly she's being objectified and to sell the product to a male audience. This reminds us of, for example, where Andrew presented the advertisement about the beautiful woman trying to appeal to a male audience in order to sell razor blades. It's the same kind of idea. So that you can see that all of the same precedents set back in the 1930s and 40s, or of objectifying women in order to sell products to male audiences, are still present today. But now, on the other hand, some progress has been made. You can see an Always ad, whose main point of the ad is to empower women, and it's a very feminist message, and it pictures a lot of strong, powerful women in it. This shows the progress that has been made, because that was not found in all the Starling stories. There was nothing even close to that, nothing remotely close to an ad empowering women. Women were only there to sell products to men, like in this first ad. Now, also, people of color. So today, in Starling stories, no ads to take people of color at all. Today, we can clearly see people of color in advertisements. For example, this first one is an anti-racism ad. So this can be viewed two ways. The fact that we need an anti-racism ad means that there's still racism in advertising today, but also it means that people are aware of it and people are willing to make a change and move in the right direction. Now the other ad is Adrian Peterson in Nike ad. It's great and it shows progress, the fact that an African American man is in an ad of such a big company. But at the same time, the advertisers use stereotypes in advertising today. So a lot of African American people feature in athletic or sports advertisements because they are stereotypically better at sports than Caucasian males. So this is still an issue where different races are marginalized or stereotyped in modern advertising. So in conclusion, advertisers use their ads to create a world which they think will appeal to their audience, and they think they'll be able to sell their product more successfully to their audience by creating this world. And even though progress has been made from the 1930s and 40s to today, and today we see more people of color and more women in ads, we still have a long way to go in order to reach gender and racial equality in advertising.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Any questions?
presentation.
Yeah, any questions for our group? Okay, thank you.